Where is God? That is a big question that many of us ask. Is God in this place or that place? Is God with us or with them? Whenever people try to answer this question about God's location, there is a push inside of us to draw boundaries and create boxes for God. God is with us, not with them. God is in this space, not over in that space. It is like we are hardwired to find the limits of God. We futilely search out spaces where God isn't. But the answer that the Bible gives over and over again is yes. Of course God is in this place and in that place. Of course God is with us and with them. For 2,000 years, followers of Jesus have believed that God is not in a particular place, but rather God is everywhere, beyond us, within us. Who exactly gets to be included? There is this embedded idea in the Christian tradition that God's Spirit somehow disrupts our reality in ways that reveal God already present, and that God's definition of who gets to be included is a lot bigger and a lot more generous than we could have ever imagined. God's Spirit becomes the lens through which we are able to see reality clearer and to see God already present in unexpected places. Just like today, the original followers of Jesus were tempted to draw boundaries and create boxes in order to say where God is present. There's a story found in the book of Acts about how God erases boundaries and kicks out the sides of boxes that people create to contain God. We pick up the story just as Peter, one of the first followers of Jesus, is returning to the city of Jerusalem after encountering God in an unexpected place. The other followers of Jesus are scandalized because there have been reports that Peter has been dining with the wrong kind of people. This scandal of a shared table with those people creates this beautiful moment where God expands Peter's perception of where God can be present. And now Peter has to explain why the lines of his boundaries are blurred and his God box flattened. Peter begins to explain to the other followers of Jesus by telling them a story about how he went to the house of a Roman centurion named Cornelius, who had sent for Peter in Joppa, because Cornelius had had an encounter with Jesus, with God being present, and was desperate to understand this experience. As Peter began to speak, God's Spirit fell on Cornelius and his household, just as it had fallen on the original followers of Jesus. Peter posed the following question to the others: if God gave them the same gift as he gave us when we first believed, who was I that I could stand in God's way? When the other followers of Jesus heard this, they fell silent and they glorified God, saying, then even to those who are not one of us, God has also granted repentance that leads to life. Prior to this story taking place, Peter thought that God was only present with us. It wasn't even imagined that God was already present with those people that Peter visited. It's as though God staged this moment so that Peter could begin to see a reality where God was already present in the midst of those people. Peter had deeply etched boundaries as to where God was and where God was not present, and he found God revealed outside of those boundaries. Peter, even more than anyone else in this story, was surprised by where God was found already present. Peter was given a different perspective by God's Spirit and came to understand that God is present in those unexpected places because God is everywhere. God's Spirit then becomes the lens that shifts the way we see so that we can see where God is already present, where God is already working. We do not bring God with us. No, God is already there. The reality is that when we begin to pull back the layers and are honest with ourselves, we are all tempted to believe that there are spaces that God could not occupy or people that God could not possibly be present with. Where is that space or person for you? May we become a people who are called down from the rooftops overlooking culture. May we come to find ourselves seated at tables that Jesus has already set in the midst of our culture around us. May we see that God is already present everywhere, beyond us, with us, and within us.